Hey, everybody. Welcome back to our second stream of the week. Thanks for tuning in. This is going to be a good one. So, we're talking today about AI, how you can use AI in your marketing to speed up your content marketing efforts, how AI is changing the game of SEO and real estate in general. So, hopefully our goal for you today is to walk away not just excited and not overwhelmed, but to have some tactical things you can do to use AI, ChatGPT, to kind of speed up your workflow, like I mentioned. So thanks for tuning in to this. I will say we did pre-record this for technical reasons, for logistic purposes. So we pre-recorded it, but our team is on the chat live, so that we are here answering questions. So do me a favor right now and type in the chat in the comments box where you're from, if you're an agent or an investor, feel free if you're a Carrot member or not, and let us know you have any questions. Let us know as they pop up, and we'll do our best to answer them. So I like this to be more of a collaborative stream here, so let us know. But anyways, let me kick it off and introduce. So I'm Brady. I'm on the marketing team for Carrot. I run our podcast, the CarrotCast podcast. You may have seen me around. And Brent Moreno, welcome on, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Bryan, give us a 30-second who you are, what do you do, and what are you excited about to talk about today?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Bryan Sekine. I'm the SEO specialist here at Carrot. I'm also on the marketing team. I basically eat, sleep, drink SEO. So I love it. I'm excited about it all day, every day. That's even what I do, like when I'm not working for Carrot. I have my own SEO agency that I started just a few months ago. And so I'm excited to get that, scaled up a little bit more and just help more people, get their businesses found on Google.
Awesome. What about you, Brent?
I'm Brent Moreno. I run a daily newsletter. It's the most comprehensive newsletter in the world of AI that's free. It's called AIdeations with the AI to start. And I also run Fraction AI Consulting. So what Fraction AI Consulting does is we help upskill employees at some large companies and then also help other companies integrate, design, and implement AI strategies into their businesses. So I'm having a lot of fun with that, kind of on the cutting edge. And that's what I've been up to lately. Also an agent and an investor, just not as active as I once was.
Yeah, man, you've been on Carrot for, I don't know, for years. I had you on the podcast a few years ago.
2017. Yeah. The first two things I bought whenever I started when I decided I wanted to be a real estate investor was Carrot and CallRail.
That's awesome. That's cool, man. Let's talk about, I feel like a good place to start would be how to structure a prompt. I feel like this is like for us one of the most basic beginner things, but so often we can just like get lazy or not think about it or skip it. Like garbage in, garbage out. Garbage prompts get you garbage results. And so I have a ChatGPT slide deck. I'm going to kind of show while you're talking, Brent, but kind of Brent, give me like the simple way to structure a prompt, if you will. Like what are the bare necessities?
Well, I mean, it's funny because it really can be as simple or as extravagant as you want. And you're right. If you give it garbage and you ask for very basic things, it's going to tend to make things up. So most of your hallucination that you get through prompting inside of these large language models like ChatGPT comes from just not giving it enough context, right? So really think about what it is that the problem you are trying to solve and the question that you're trying to ask. The better your questions, the better your answers are going to be. It's almost like a person, right? The person who asks better questions usually gets better results. The very basic structure of it is ask a lot of questions, be curious, and be open to talk to it like it's a freelancer. I talk to it like it knows everything because it does know a lot about everything. And yes, it does have a tendency to make things up. But I mean, I've even used it for things as crazy as like, hey, here's what I'm struggling with mentally. Like, this is my situation. This is my problem, warts and all, right? Because I don't have to tell somebody and be embarrassed about anything because I'm just talking to a computer. And it's pretty surprising the things that it'll come up with. But getting into like the real details of like prompt engineering, it's not that difficult. It sounds like a big scary word because you add the name engineering to the back of it, but it's really just understanding how to ask it and guide it in the right ways to give you the best results. And we'll talk a little bit about what creates a great prompt and a bad prompt as far as like what I call super prompts. But I've taken a lot of that out of it. Like, so you have like a presentation that I shared, I don't know when it was, back in like April, that talks about the basic prompts, the structured prompts, and the super prompts, right? A basic prompt is like, write a Facebook ad for me as a real estate investor in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, right? And it doesn't know anything about you, your name, your business, what you do, what you specialize in, the niches that you're involved in, any of that stuff. So a more structured prompt would be like, I'm going to give it a role, right? So you're a Facebook ad copywriter who specializes in helping real estate investors like me in my business called XYZ Home Buyers create Facebook posts for XYZ, right? Or create Facebook posts that will encourage people to click a link on my website. And you explain the format. The super prompt is where things get really interesting, and I'm going to make it even easier past the super prompt. I'm going to give you guys a prompt that I call the one prompt to rule them all. Um, it basically takes the structure of a super prompt, and all it takes is like a one question or one problem statement, and it will literally create the prompt that you can then copy and paste and start a new thread and create that post for you. So what creates a super prompt is context, right? Context is key. What goals are you trying to accomplish? Give those goals definition. Set criteria, right? Because creativity loves constraints. Uh, what information? So I usually call that an input request, right? So usually it'll ask it to ask you questions, and you answer those questions, and that actually will help you provide more context. And then the format could be anything from HTML, Markdown, you name it. It'll basically create that format for you. That's what creates a super prompt. But prompting doesn't have to be hard. And like I said, I've already created a prompt that you can literally input. And I used this at a workshop recently at a resort where I had about 45 managers of this resort come in and do a 2-day workshop with us. And she was the housekeeping manager. And she was like, well, she's like, I just literally took this prompt over to her. I slid my computer down next to her and I says, what's a problem you're trying to solve that you do on a computer? And she goes, well, I really need to write a proposal on why we need to switch out this old washer and drying machine with a newer model. And I said, okay, well, type out exactly that onto my computer. And she typed it out, and it literally built this entire proposal or this prompt that she then copied and put that prompt in and entered the input request that it asked for. And it literally created this entire proposal for her within seconds. She goes, oh my God. She's like, this this would take me like a week to put together and do and send. So I turned to the owner of the resort. I said, just be prepared. You're going to be getting a lot of emails here in the next week or so because everyone's now figured this out, how to create all these proposals and write you in a way that you've never been written before. They're going to be able to tell you on things.
So when you told her to plug it in, you were telling her just word for word, like tell
Tell me the
ChatGPT what
problem.
you told.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of trying to overthink it.
Yeah. Instead of trying to overthink it, the one prompt to rule them all literally created the prompt that she could copy and paste, start a new thread, and literally have everything that she needed. Now the numbers and all were off, like the business, like because it doesn't know the price of things, it didn't have that context or anything like that. But those are very simple tweaks. And again, she didn't put any input requests in as far as like it asked for that information ahead of time. She didn't do that. She literally just copied it and placed it, and it created the entire format for her to just copy and paste, and all she had to do was change a few numbers around.
Yeah. Tell me, Brent, tell me a little bit about, I'm curious about asking it to ask you questions. What does that look like? Let's use the example of like, I'm a real estate investor, BradyBuysHouses.com. I'm trying to write a bio for my about page. ChatGPT does not know anything about me. Doesn't know my wife and kids, my business, what I do. What kind of questions am I asking it a question?
Yeah.
I'll just trip myself up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, so it's really great at interviewing you, right? I was like, so if there's something that you need to provide a lot of context for, but you're not necessarily 100% sure on what context it needs. For instance, like I use it for pitch decks. I'll say, hey, I'm trying to create XYZ company. Ask me all the questions you need to know to help me create the most perfect pitch deck. and it will literally. But I always ask it to ask me in a structure because I don't like answering all those questions at one time. I'll say,
Mm.
ask me one by one until you have every question you need answered to formulate this. Right. The same could be said for a real estate problem. Right. If you got something that you need help with, ask me all the questions that you need to know until you have the answers you need to get X result.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You don't get stuck on, oh, I don't know the context I need to give it. Just ask it because it knows. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to dive into the super prompt at all? I don't know if there's a way to do that without overwhelming people, but like, the super prompt can be a lot. What's the most important thing about the super prompt, you feel like?
I mean, obviously again, context and your goals that you're trying to accomplish. Those are your two biggest ones.
Yeah.
Um, your criteria and your information about you. Those can be information about you is also important, but the formatting is probably the least important, right? Because we know formatting is likely going to be mostly just text, anyways.
Mhm.
Most people don't need things in a table format or anything like that. But your context and your goal and your information about you are going to be your three biggest that you need to focus
Gotcha.
on.
Okay. I think going off this example that we have in here, context, you're a professional researcher who helps real estate investors analyze existing solutions on the market. You're a world-class expert in identifying direct competitors. So telling it who it is, basically who ChatGPT is acting
Right.
as. Goal example we have is I want you to analyze existing companies in my market and find 3 direct competitors for my business. I will use this information to sharpen my value proposition. Here's a question I have for you. So like ChatGPT's, it can find those 3 direct competitors, but it has, and maybe I'm not up to speed on this. It has issues when you try and give it a certain website. It'll tell you like, oh, I can't, I can't scrape certain web pages for that information. Is there a way around that or a plugin? Something like if you wanted to say, hey, these are the 3 competitors in my area. Can you give me more information on this?
Most of the sites that it has problems with have set up basically anti web scraping in their HTML. So there's
Hmm.
not really a way around it. But most of these investor websites, you're not going to usually find that installed.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I think that's like a wealth of information on how to structure a prompt. I feel like even sometimes I get lazy and don't do like all of this, even though I should be. But this is super valuable here.
See if I can find the hold on. Let me see if I can close that sidebar. Is there a way I can type something?
Yeah, you want to share your screen real quick? Did you want to share your screen, Brett?
Oh yeah, I can do that. Hold on, let me go to a
Okay.
new window real quick. I don't want
Yeah, you're good.
to. GPT-4. So you're gonna love this. Let me go to share my screen. Present.
While Brent's pulling that up, y'all that are watching this, if you have any ChatGPT use cases or prompts that you found really useful, put in the chat. We'd love to hear how y'all are using ChatGPT. Okay, here we go.
Boom. All right. So let's just play around with this real quick. Boom. Just copy that. All right. So this is very simple. This is my prompt to create super prompts. You're an expert prompt engineer who can turn any request or need into a well-defined prompt that is structured with context, goal, criteria, input request, and format. Goal. I will be able to ask you any question or define any need, and you will, in return, provide the perfect prompt to generate the best answers and solutions to my problem. Criteria. Each prompt should include context, a goal, criteria for the prompt, input request, and a format. Do you understand? So it's going to come back. Yes, I understand what problem you have. So give me something you need help with.
I need to get on ChatGPT 4. It is a lot faster.
Oh, you definitely need to be on ChatGPT 4. It's best
It's the best $20 I've ever spent.
Oh, yeah, all
Jinx.
day. See, look at there. We did not prompt each other to say that at the same time. Literally, I would cancel every other subscription I have if I only got to pick one. This would be it. So give me a problem. Give me something you need help with.
I'm a real estate investor and real estate agent. I'm not sure how to position myself, how to position my unique selling propositions to prospects and tell them the pros and cons of working with an investor versus an agent.
So I'm a real estate investor and agent. I'm not sure how to position my unique selling propositions
to motivated sellers or to prospects.
All right, there we go. There we go. It's creating the prompt.
Context. You're a real estate investor or an agent looking to effectively communicate your USP to motivated sellers. Real estate market's competitive. Standing out is hard. I'm summarizing. Goal to develop a strategy that presents your USP to motivated sellers, ensuring that they understand the benefits of working with other real estate agents or investors. Criteria. Strategy must be tailored to motivated sellers, addressing their specific needs and concerns. It should highlight your unique strengths, experiences, and services that differentiate you in the market. The approach should be easy to communicate, whether through marketing materials, direct communication, or digital platforms. Consideration of current real estate market trends. Input request, a brief summary of your current USPs. Okay. Insights into your target demographics and motivated sellers. Any specific challenges you faced in communicating your USPs.
Boom.
Okay.
So
nice.
now I have that, right?
Yeah.
If I wanted to save time and I didn't really want to get granular with it, I could go and just cut out the USPs, like or the input requests, right? So let's just do that real quick, just to save some time, and see what it comes up with. Here we go. Identify their primary concerns: quick sales, fair pricing, simplicity. Understand their emotional drivers, stress relief, and urgency. Defining your unique selling points: speed and efficiency, market knowledge, personalized service, proven track record, networking resources. Now, it would have given me way better USPs if I would have given it some more information about me. Key messages for communication channels and implementation, digital marketing, direct communication, content marketing, networking referrals, adaptability across platforms, implementation suggestions, personalized landing pages, video content, social proof, interactive tools, community engagement, conclusions. And what's great about it from here, and this is what I love about ChatGPT, is that I can pick any number of these or every single one of them and go down the rabbit hole of, okay, well, help me come up with, how do I get better at direct communication? How do I get better at content marketing? What strategies should I be using? Networking and referrals, like all that on and on and on. I can do that. But using one simple prompt, I was able to create a super prompt without having to think about it, just by giving it one statement or one question or one problem.
I like that. Scroll down real quick to the, what was it? Key messages. Key messages for communication. Right back up. Right there. Sell your home fast and hassle-free. Tailored solutions for your unique selling situation. I think that's a good way to word that. Tailored solutions. That's something I wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah.
Trusted by number of homeowners in area. Haven't seen somebody do that on their website. Like, you don't want to say like we've done this many deals in Dallas, but like trusted by, trusted by over 50 sellers over the past 7 years. That's copy that I wouldn't have thought of. Access to a vast network for quicker sales. That could be a wordsmith, but yeah, it's really good sparks of ideas here. Huh.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I like that.
Yeah.
That's the super prompt there. Awesome. Awesome, man. Well, let's kick it over to you, Bryan. What are you excited about in the sense of SEO? You mentioned something to me about a prompt for EAT, Google expertise, um, experience, authority, and trust. What do you see in SEO? What's been most helpful to you?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people are worried that AI is going to, like ruin SEO or end SEO as we know it, which I don't think is true. I think we're quite a bit of ways away from something like that because it's not in Google's best interest to just get rid of their biggest moneymaker, which would be Google search. And while they do have the search generative experience or the SGE, and how that has impacted SEO to some extent, it's not nearly as bad as I think what most people thought. It's not like everyone's going to habitually just start using ChatGPT instead of Googling something. And I think that Google has a lot of additional products and features and stuff that's going to keep it alive for a long time. But AI is incredibly helpful and powerful in doing some very specific SEO tasks that I think elude most people. So in this past year, we've seen quite a few major algorithm updates. Some of the most impactful ones are the helpful content update, and that introduced a new ranking factor called site-wide identifiers for helpful content. So that basically says that if Google crawls your website and they find out that 80% of the content that you've previously written, and this could be last week, last year, last decade, if any of that content is no longer performing well, now it's going to start pulling your rankings down. And before, that was not even an option on the table, right? It was not a consideration. No one's really thought about like auditing their past content. And so I think for a lot of people, that just brought up, dozens, if not hundreds of questions. Like, how do I know if content is helpful? How do I find content that isn't helpful? What could I add to my content to make it helpful? And under what criteria, is Google saying, this is helpful for somebody? And so Google, through the course of this past year, has released a lot of information about that. But one of my favorite uses for AI is to use Google's own quality grader guidelines, which is a massive PDF that they give to real human beings in order to get them to sort of QA actual content. Now, Google has not been super transparent about like how many quality guideline raters they have or whether or not they take their considerations and implement them one for one. But we do know that Google puts a large emphasis on trying to give these quality graders very in-depth materials on how to quantify and qualify helpful content. So one of my favorite prompts is to have ChatGPT read that whole PDF, summarize it, and then create grading criteria. And then once you've sort of trained ChatGPT to act as a quality grader, then you copy and paste the content that you would like to optimize and into the response. And then it's going to give you an actual qualitative score to something that was, otherwise a very quantitative score to something that's very much otherwise qualitative, right? Like, who says that this is helpful or not? Well, ChatGPT is going to spit out a response that says, okay, well, in this paragraph, you talk about your personal experiences, but you don't include any kind of reference to your accreditation within that field. So while you are giving legal advice, the reader is not clear on whether or not you've even passed the bar exam, right? And so then you're like, oh, okay, that's very specific, very actionable advice to do on a specific paragraph of text, right? Within this large 3,000 word blog post, which maybe you would have pointed that out and like seen it and fixed it. But most of the time you would not have, especially if you're like a lot of people who've been in business for a long time. You've been publishing blog posts for like 5 to 10 years, so you may have 600 blog posts, 1,000 blog posts, and to have to go through and do like that deep, meticulous audit of all of your content is just immediately overwhelming. So what I have, and I'll see if I can present my screen real quick, is a prompt that I've been using to actually go through Carrot's content and optimize it for, the helpful content update. Can you guys see my screen?
Here we go. Yep.
Okay.
Zoom in a smidge, if you will. Maybe zoom in a couple steps, and then we'll be able to see.
I forget how to zoom in.
I can do Command Plus if you're on Mac.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. Nice.
All right. So much like what Brent was saying, we first have to give it a role. So it's act as a Google search rater and create, and then this is the criteria to work within, the parameters. Create 7 parameters for justifying content based on these questions. Now, these are 7 questions that I pulled specifically out of the Google Quality Rater guidelines. And so after you enter this, ChatGPT is going to spit out, okay, these are the 7 different criteria that I've created. And you say the next prompt is now rate this content out of 10 for each of the 7 metrics. And then you just copy and paste whatever that content is. And that's going to produce results kind of like this. So this is a direct response that I got from ChatGPT. And so the 7 criteria, for those of you that are listening to the podcast and not watching on YouTube, the 7 criteria are originality and depth, comprehensiveness, headline integrity, trustworthiness and transparency, author expertise, accuracy, and reliability for critical decisions. So once all this is done, I then copy and pasted some copy from one of Carrot's blog posts, and it rated it on a scale of 1 to 10. So the first one for originality and depth, it says score of 8 out of 10. And then it gives me an example of what's going on. So like this one, the example of Tyler Ford's statistics from the National Association of Realtors give it some original depth. However, much of the introductory information about SEO is fairly standard, right? That is really great feedback. So that tells me, okay, I need to add a little bit more originality to the content, right? I don't need to be talking about SEO advice that you can find anywhere else on the web. I need to give it more context and more SEO advice specific to real estate investors. And then, keep going down through the rest of the stuff. And for me personally, I'm going to grade the content based on a score of 6 or lower. So if it's a 7 or 8, yes, there is some room for improvement, but your return on the investment for effort optimizing that content is probably not going to be super great compared to something that's like a 3 or 4, right? So just kind of prioritize the edits that are easy to make and have the highest impact. And so what I did is basically went through, and in this particular piece of content, it's like a 10,000 word ultimate guide, right? It's a complete walkthrough on SEO for real estate beginners guide. And so I took chunks of that. So like section 1 was about one thing. And then this one is section 2, which talk about real estate keywords. So again, just copy and paste that content into ChatGPT and it spits out all the grades. So this is a 9 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. And so after going through this, I said, okay, this particular section of this one huge piece of content is great. I don't have to change anything to it. So just moving on. And then
instead of having to manually go through that and be like, let me just use my gut. Like, is this helpful? Am I saying the right things? Is it up to date? You could completely skip entire sections of posts or pages saying like, it's good in Google's eyes, moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so the next thing that you can do is, and keep in mind, I'm doing all this all within the same thread in ChatGPT. So it has the same context, it has the same guidelines and roles and stuff. So the third one that I would use is this one. You have rated low at the metrics of trustworthiness, expertise, and reliability for important decisions. Can you point out which parts of the article can be improved and what to improve in those parts so that it can get better score with trustworthiness, blah, 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 blah. And so then that's when it would go through and give you like the very specific things, like you need to add, a link to your LinkedIn profile, or you need to cite a source because you mentioned a statistic that, has not been previously cited. And it just gets super, super in depth. So for me, while AI is not going to like hugely negatively impact SEO as an industry, I think that it has the ability to take something that would otherwise be kind of like what Brent was saying earlier, like it would take me a week to go through and just, with a fine-tooth comb, audit an entire piece of content that's 10,000 words long. And this basically cuts it down to just a few hours. And so you can take this and just scale it up or down as much as you want. You can go incredibly deep, or you can keep it very broad. And so it's really up to you on how much you want to use ChatGPT to do SEO tasks like that. So in my example, I do SEO all day, every day. And so this is an invaluable new tool on my tool belt to go through on my client sites and just audit all their content, figure out what's working and what's not, and then either decide if I need to update or if I need to delete and redirect, or if I just need to create a new piece of content to satisfy the search intent for that target keyword. And so while ChatGPT is not super great for doing like one-click blog post publishing or giving you like really granular technical SEO advice, there's a lot of areas where ChatGPT really falls short for specific SEO tasks. But in other areas, it really, really excels. So I think that exactly like what Brent was saying, if you focus on the prompt engineering, you can get a lot more out of it.
Right.
Interesting. I have a couple questions. One's kind of a sidebar, but Brent, how important do you think it is to maintain those threads within ChatGPT? Or I guess another way to ask would be like, is it going to be harmful if you're using one existing ChatGPT thread for like a completely different topic? Should you have those threads pretty organized depending on what you're doing, or meh?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing they disappointed me in and not releasing during Dev Day as a way to organize your threads a little better, because
Hmm.
there are some extensions that you can see. Like if you look at my screen on the right, you can see all like some of my favorite prompts are already stored there, and I can literally just hit the slash bar and pull them up without having to go and find them in my notepads or anything like that. There's one called I want to say like Super GPT or something like that that allows you to take your actual ones and create files and folders of. But I think it is important to like stay on context with what you're working on in one thread. So if you're working on SEO, like make that your SEO thread, go and rename it and like call it your SEO thread and keep coming back to that one. I do that with any kind of project or idea that I'm working on. I'll just rename it, and I always know that I can go and find it and just restart. Now you're going to start losing some memory over time. That's one of the biggest challenges with AI currently is that there is a memory threshold. So like if you're getting a really really long prompt, now it's getting better, especially now that they've expanded to 100 what 25,000 128,000 tokens. The memory threshold is getting better, but it's still not perfect. Uh, so I like to just focus on working on the ones that I'm working on in a certain thread, and if I'm have a different problem or a different thing that I'm working on, go move to it. Now the cool thing here is the future is that you're going to have your SEO agent. I'm going to call them agents and not threads. You're going to have your SEO agent. You're going to have your copywriter agent, and you're going to have your CEO agent, your CMO agent. You're going to have all these different agents in your sidebar that you can connect, and basically they'll all communicate with one another. Agents are kind of like what's already happening. It's been happening for the last 6 or 7 months now. None of them are really that great. They're a lot of fun to play with, but the technology is there and it's rapidly advancing to the point to where like they call the new GPTs. They're basically calling them agents. What's going to be great is at some point in time they're all going to be able to talk to each other simultaneously. So I was working on like AutoGen not too long ago and Chat Dev. And for those of you who are not familiar, like that's essentially a program you can install on your computer that uses your OpenAI API key, but you assign roles and tasks. Most of those are already predefined, or you can go and change them yourself inside the code. But I just go with the predefined ones. So what Chat Dev and AutoGen basically does is allow you to enter one prompt, and that one prompt will then go and talk to everyone in the organization or the structure, and they'll all work together simultaneously to write code to build software. So you'll have like your coding department, your coding review team, and your CTO and all of them all will be going back and forth. So your review team will check the code and say, "Hey, we found this problem," and then they'll send it back, and then they'll recode it and then make it right, and they'll send it back to the review team. Okay, great. Here's the report to the CTO. The CTO says, "Okay, here's your next steps," and then we start the whole process over again. So you basically have an entire, basically like small Sims group of people that are sitting there just working on a task that you've given them based off of one prompt, and that is essentially what is coming. And when I say like I tell everybody, software is eating itself. As like the future really is if you can describe it, or in this case, since now we have multimodal models, if you can take a picture of it, you can essentially build it. and it's fascinating to watch, but it's also a bit scary if you're in like you run a SaaS business or you're trying to build a wrapper service around something that OpenAI is already allowing you to do. It makes it way too easy for somebody just to come in and crush you. Uh, because ultimately, if I can say I need a CRM for my real estate business that does this, 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 and get really detailed in my prompt and write it in plain English, why do I need to go pay a CRM company to
Hmm.
$100 a month to run my business?
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. For the context and the culture, who knows? Yeah. For the
Yeah,
industry
I mean,
expertise.
yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. But by the way, it's like it's creating these applications and it has these entire conversations and it's building. If I wanted to build the calculator app
Yeah.
or 10B2, like this is very simple things right now.
Yeah.
If I wanted to build those things, if I went to a software developer, like you're talking, 10, 15, $20,000 to build something, whereas the API credits are like $5, like for the
Yeah.
entire thing. And here,
Right.
boom, here's what you need to do. And that's what's coming inside of OpenAI and ChatGPT and other large language models. Is that agents are kind of the future here, and we're not talking like 5 years off. We're talking like in the next year or two.
Hmm. That's wild, man. Do you see that existing inside of, you might have answered this, maybe I missed it. Do you see that existing inside of ChatGPT, or is this in the form of other companies or plugins you tack
I
on?
think it exists inside of ChatGPT. Yeah,
Gotcha.
100%.
They have the
And we were
means.
talking about like Google search habits. Like, yeah, I don't. I'm a little bit different. I understand that, but like, I don't. I probably use uh, Google probably 95% less than I used to.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
Especially now that I have web access inside of ChatGPT. It's like I don't. There's not really much. I use Perplexity and ChatGPT for 90% of my tasks, and Perplexity is another search engine, but it just takes all the information instead of having to go link by link by link. It gives you all the information based on like some of the top resources and cites them and gives you the link if you want to go follow and go to that blog. So kind of like search. It sounds kind of like SGE, but it's done a little bit better,
A little more organized and summarized. That
a little
makes
more
sense.
organized, and there's no ads, which Google's just announced that their SGE is going to feature paid ads, which obviously, duh. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's that's 80% of their business.
Right. It's interesting. We were talking before we hit record on, kind of how do we even look at AI? Like, what's the lens we look at it? Is this something that can replace people or certain jobs and fields, or, how much of the work should it be doing before us? And at this point in time, before I hit record, we were talking about like strategy and subject matter expertise. And um, what I'm getting at, Bryan, my question is, related to keyword research, at this point in time, how much could you or should you rely on ChatGPT? Let's say, even giving it context, how much should you or could you rely on it for being a subject matter expert for when it comes to things like keyword research and marketing strategy?
You asking me that?
Oh, I was asking Bryan. Well, I
Okay.
mean, but either of y'all though.
I would say ChatGPT or any AI platform really would be great for the first 50 to 60% of keyword research specifically. So it would be awesome at collecting the keywords and finding out like what sort of long tail variations exist. It would be great at figuring out what the search volume is for each keyword, what the keyword difficulty is. And then it would be really, really good at figuring out like which keywords would be eligible for things like featured snippets, like a local pack, an image pack. People also ask, things like that. Where it kind of falls short is figuring out which of these types of keywords would fall under what kind of search intent or where that keyword falls within a sales funnel. So AI doesn't quite yet have enough context to figure out like if someone is typing in, let me think, like best home modem, right? Like it might know that a lot of the search results come up with products, but it may not know that that particular keyword is like in the decision phase portion of a sales funnel, right? So
Hmm.
in terms of the higher level strategy of if you should use that keyword or write content for that keyword or how you would interlink the content to other pieces of content on your website, it may fall short on that because it doesn't quite understand like the full picture. So it gets an idea of what the keyword is about, what's currently ranking for that keyword, and the data behind it. And honestly, that's about half of keyword research, is just figuring out what the numbers are, what the variables are in terms of like the seed keyword versus long tail variations for it. It's really good at finding like the natural language processing variations. Like this particular keyword also features these 40 words, right, that need to be involved in order to
Right.
rank.
Yeah.
That's all fine and great, but it's just a matter of like at the end of the day, you probably still have to have a human strategist be able to decide like this is one we're going to write content for, but this is one that we're not, because it's not actually decision phase, or maybe this is in the like unaware stage of the sales funnel where they're just doing like very high level preliminary research. They don't even know what the full problem is, and we already have a lot of that content, because you have to have someone that's a strategist for your own business that understands like the history of what content you already have versus what gaps there are. But for things like competitive analysis and keyword research, like, yeah, use AI all day to help you with that, because that's a lot of tedious work. It's a lot of like data mining that AI is amazing and perfect to do.
Yeah. And kind of what you're saying, part of what you're saying is ChatGPT is still going to have a hard time prioritizing what's best for you and your business. You can't, at least right now, pass off those decisions to ChatGPT. You shouldn't blindly anyways. Brent, that's just like the ultimate form of lazy. Brent, do you see some of this changing in the future as far as AI better understanding search intent? And for anybody listening, if this is going over your head, the search intent is basically what the searcher meant. So if I type in real estate websites into Google, my intent might be, I want to see examples of websites that real estate agents and investors built. Or I might be looking for news outlets and news sources related to real estate, like websites that give me information on real estate. So there's two types of intent there.
Right.
Do you think AI is or is going to get better at understanding that human intent?
Yes. And the reason I believe that is because of data. And I believe that we will all essentially continue to give up our data to these AIs to where they know you and your intent better than you know yourself.
Hmm.
Um, so as long as the data flows are still remain open, I think that essentially like it will know whether or not you're looking for a real estate news website or you're in a situation where you're trying to sell your house before you even ever really type it.
Interesting. So my follow-up question to that is, do you think that search results will start to become, whether it's Google search or ChatGPT? Well, let's just say Google search, for example. Do you think search results will start to become much more varied based on the user over time? So like
Yeah.
you're a completely different person than I am. If I
Yes.
type in real estate websites, Google's going to say, "Oh, Brady's looking for news outlets," and it's going to say, "Oh, Brent Moreno wants to know how to build a website."
Yeah, I think your search results will definitely become more catered to you as an individual and your personality and what you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis versus what you find.
Interesting. I am
Yeah.
not sure if I like that. I don't know if I like that. I'm sure most people like would agree with the sentiment, like, "Oh, it's too creepy or it's invasive." Like,
I
I
mean,
could see it being really helpful,
I
but
say things essentially like we'll have Jarvis in 5 years. Like
Mhm.
maybe not the actual like but we'll essentially all have our own personal assistants that basically do everything and anything for us that's related to online communication will probably be handled through our assistants.
Mm,
Yeah.
I'll have
interesting.
your bot call
And
my bot, schedule a meeting.
Brady, your search results are already tailored towards you.
Yeah,
Like that exists in Google search even prior to AI being a mainstream thing.
right.
Like if you type in coffee near me, it's going to show you different results based on where you're located. But also, Google has been using cookies for a long time to figure out like things you're interested in, to display ads that are more relevant to you. And this is something like every social media platform also contributes to, and they sell data back and forth so that you have like an online profile that follows you around the web. And so everything you type in, everything you search for, every song you listen to, restaurant you visit, so on and so forth, that data point's captured, and so your whole online experience is sort of designed right now and probably will be in the far future to be tailored specifically for you.
Mm, wild. See, and I understood that from a location point of view. Like, I obviously it knows my location, knows some of my interests, like for ads and for recommendations. Like you go to Google News, like Google News for you. I'm like, half of this isn't even news. This is just ads, disguised as blog posts. But yeah, that's interesting. How it's gonna shape shape Google search over the next few years. Yeah, that's wild. Well, I tell you what, we don't have a ton more time. I want to share, I'm going to share some of these slides from this prompt deck that we put together recently. It's actually included in our Cyber Monday offer we're running right now, but let me pull this up. I'm going to share this. And Bryan, I'm curious if you guys have any feedback or anything you would do differently. Feel free to chime in for sure. Here's one we're going to be updating this, but one of the prompts in here was to rewrite Carrot blog posts. The cool thing is, at the time of watching this, Carrot actually already has this feature. We baked ChatGPT into Carrot to where you can, with the click of a button, rewrite your blog posts, landing pages, that sort of thing. So you go in, rewrite the content. If you don't like it, have it try again without having to copy and paste and go back and forth. It goes a little bit deeper than that. I'm kind of glossing over it, but you can rewrite content within Carrot now. So this one's made irrelevant. AI is moving so fast, Here's we were talking about me pages or bios earlier. And you can make these prompts a little bit better with some of the things we've talked about on the stream. But act as a real estate investor from Roseburg, Oregon, from ABC House Buyers, writing about me that includes my core values, unique value proposition, and years of experience. That's some of the context that we've been talking about, like telling ChatGPT what needs to be in it. The target audience is someone who wants to sell their home fast. Write it in no more than 1,500 characters. I've had mixed results with the whole characters or word count thing. Usually you'll need to come back after that and reply and say, hey, okay, shorten it to X amount of words or characters. Any tips for that part, Brent?
Are you using GPT 3 or 4?
This was with 3.
Yeah, that's 4 is a lot better at understanding
4 fix it.
Character count. I mean, it's not perfect,
Gotcha.
but it's pretty close. It's a lot better.
Okay, that's good. You do it for situation pages. So act as an expert marketer or a real estate investor, write landing page copy for someone going through a tough situation. They need to sell their house fast because they're relocating for work and don't have enough equity in the house to pay realtor and selling fees. So again, you're giving it context. You're letting ChatGPT know what the seller, what the prospect is going through, like really specific situations, not just an article about how to sell your house fast. Make sure it's clear that selling to a real estate investor can solve their tough situation easily and quickly. Kind of related to the example we were sharing earlier, you could say, in the copy, make sure to list out the pros and cons of selling to my company as an investor or an agent, or let them know that I'm a hybrid and we can do both. You don't want to tell people you're a hybrid. That doesn't mean anything to the seller, but let them know about both options. You can have do market updates, FAQ pages. Bryan, did you want to touch on, I'm asking you this, not saying, hey, let's hear this. Do you want to touch on schema at all? Talk about how that might be helpful for your website?
Yeah, so here's the long and short of using schema these days. So Google has changed their stance on FAQ schema specifically to say that now FAQ schema will only be displayed by government organizations or healthcare organizations, because I believe there has been a large influx of people using FAQ schema to sort of manipulate the search results page. And so especially after ChatGPT 4 came out. So Google has said they're no longer going to prioritize that. And they've said repeatedly since then that schema markup on a particular piece of content is not a ranking factor. However, it does still give Google some context as to what your content is about. So for like food bloggers, for example, they're going to have the little plugin at the very bottom that puts in a bunch of information that says, this is a recipe, this is how long it takes to cook, here's a star rating, so on and so forth, right? But that schema on its own now no longer helps you rank higher necessarily. So what I've been telling a lot of the Carrot members who come in and ask about schema, specifically, I tell them, you don't have to remove it from your website, but it's not worth going through the effort of putting it on there now because it's been devalued. So it's not something that is going to be a game changer for you. It's probably going to be more effort than it's worth, even using a ChatGPT prompt to create that schema.
Interesting. Okay, so in a nutshell, it's not a ranking factor, but it kind of is in a roundabout sort of way because it's giving Google more information about that page. So it's still beneficial, but it's harder to gamify.
Right. Now, one of the things that could be relieving for people to hear who have put a lot of time into having schema on their website, schema is still the most reliable way to get your content featured in AI responses. So if you are linked to a response from SGE, for example, they're pulling that information primarily out of schema because it's so structured. So AI says, okay, this is structured data. We know what it means. We know how to use it. It's easy for us to pull in versus AI having to go to website crawler data and then sort of parse out like what is the address, what is the phone number, what is the business listing name, and then having to pull all that out themselves because they're trying to like optimize the amount of resources that are needed to create these SGE responses. So there is still value in having schema, but it's very circumstantial.
Interesting. So overall recommendation is it's still helpful for your pages and posts to try and get featured in the Google Search Labs or generatives. What is it? SGE search generated?
Search generative experience or something.
Yeah, experiment.
Yeah.
So,
Engine, something, I don't know.
okay. Still
I think
helpful, still ups your chances.
Google's scrambling,
Yeah.
which is weird to say, but they are scrambling.
Yeah. That's going to be the interesting thing about this race is to see who, and see how Google tries to keep up. A couple more, create blog post outlines. If you're coming up with if you're struggling coming up with what to write about, or if you have an idea, be like, I'm not sure everything I should talk about within this blog post. Maybe you need to explain the benefits of selling, benefits of selling to an agent versus an investor. It can break down all the things that a motivated seller is hoping to learn about in that type of post. If you have Carrot automated blog posts, you don't even need this prompt. Schedule the blog post, rewrite it all within Carrot. You don't have to come up with the blog post outline, but that's a way to do it. Keyword variations, video ideas, give it a topic and say, this is kind of like doing your keyword research, but hey, I have a video idea. What are some other video ideas related to this? That's another one. Write a script for a video, highlight YouTube chapters. This is one that I personally been using and saved me some time. But basically taking the transcript from YouTube, you can go to YouTube and hit just show transcript, copy and paste it, and using the following transcript outline of 5 to 10 of the most important highlights from the video, include timestamps for each one, and optimize these terms or these descriptions, these highlights to rank and search for XYZ keyword. And then the rest of it is just, formatting. But that's something that's really saved me a lot of time in just summarizing the YouTube video, putting it in the description. And now I have clickable chapters, and that's helping our YouTube SEO. So it's getting seen by more people, and it's a better user experience for the person watching the video. Got ones on Google Ads, keyword research, ad creation, give me headline variations. That's another way that I personally am using ChatGPT is like, hey, I have an idea for a title of this blog post, this podcast, this landing page headline. Give me 10 variations for it. Or, I have a newsletter. I want to start a newsletter. Here's my idea of what I think I should call it. Here's the person who's going to be reading it. Give me 10 variations. Give me 10 variations, 10 similar ideas to it. So I think that's really valuable. So for Google Ads creation, we gave it write 10 Google Ad headlines of 30 characters or less based on this page. And then we put in the content for the page or the URL. And then we've got sell your Ridgefield house fast, like Ridgefield, Washington, fast cast for your Ridgefield home, sell your Ridgeline home quickly. So, Facebook, Google Ads, you can kind of experiment with different ad copy really easily instead of sitting there having to brainstorm every single one. Anyways, there's a whole lot more, but I'm not going to go through them all. We don't have time to go through all of these, but it's included in the Cyber Monday sale that we're running right now. But Just to kind of wrap it up, Bryan, Brent, you have any favorite prompts or any insight that you want to make sure we share while we're on the call?
So I'll start there. I mean, my favorite prompt, obviously, that the one prompt to rule them all. That's a
Yep.
great to build a super prompt.
That's my new favorite one.
By all means, subscribe to Ideations. It's in there. You can go and find it. I'll give it to you guys as well. It's not a problem. But I would say my insights would be, stay curious. Uh, you really ought to be paying attention to what's going on, and you don't have to work that hard at it. That's what I do, and I'm going to relay that information to you guys. But pay attention, because this is a seismic shift that I don't think most people are paying attention to, because I still meet people every day who go, yeah, I've never even used ChatGPT. And I'm kind of blown away by it. And these are business owners. These aren't just regular, walking around everyday people that have jobs. These are business owners that I talk to. It's like, yeah, I've never used it. Or I tried to figure it out. I don't really know what it does. Like, you really need to be paying attention to it, because AI is not currently coming here to replace you, not yet. But someone who is using AI absolutely will crush you. If you're not looking for ways to implement this into your business some way, somehow, some shape or form, then you're going to get crushed. And current studies, this is coming from our actual government studies, just access to ChatGPT can increase your productivity by up to 14%, by over 14%. So if we just take that number of 14% and just spread that across 52 weeks, that's almost 7.5 weeks of your time earned back. And we're all in the business, or at least I'm in the business of keeping more of my time. So if you're looking for ways to save time, this is going to be the best solution for you, and your business, whether your daily life, your personal life, your business life, whatever it may be. It's the best $20 a month you could possibly spend to get access to the latest and greatest. And if you're subscribed to Ideations, you'll get updated every single day on some of the breaking news, tools, research, all those things, delivered straight to your inbox. That's completely free. So you guys have no excuses to not be learning and using this. You should be jumping in and learning every single day and getting better every day.
I love that. I appreciate it. And the newsletter is good stuff. I personally subscribe to it. Bryan, you mentioned you subscribe to it. Brent does a really good job at summarizing, what's happening in the news, what kind of regulations coming about, different use cases, how people are using AI and ChatGPT, a lot of vision casting for the future. It helps me kind of stay connected and get real practical use cases, but also just be plugged in so that I'm not blindsided by what you're saying. Is like, I agree, it's a seismic shift. I don't want to wake up one day and be like, how the heck did this entire industry change, or how is this doing my job?
I
I
mean,
don't want
this
to
is
be
the fourth
blindsided.
industrial revolution,
Yeah.
except it's one unlike any other revolution that we've ever seen. I believe it'll have 10x the impact of the internet in half the amount of time, and we're about to see. That's why I tell people, like, invest in cloud, because we're about to see there's going to be more content created in the next 10 years than all of the last 100 years combined.
Yeah. Which is wild. Yeah. That's crazy. Bryan, any parting words, anything you want to mention, any prompts or any insights?
One of the slides that you showed just very briefly on the prompt deck is also one of my favorites for specifically doing keyword research, and it's for finding keywords that are semantically relevant but serve a different search intent. And so for people who use ChatGPT and are doing keyword research and creating content for their real estate investor websites, to give a little bit of context, like, this is something where if you are trying to target a location page and you are using the keywords like sell my hoarder house, you can put that into this variation and say, like, give me a list of 10 to 30 keyword variations for hoarder houses. And so it'll say, it'll give you great topic examples. And if you write content on each of those, then you will have a much more complete topical relevance map, which, if done for all of the 12 major situation pages, if you could do that for every city location page, you'd basically dominate the search results, regardless of what the actual keyword is. And so the idea here is that you're getting full topical coverage. You're not just hitting the highlights or, 2 or 3 pieces, but you're getting all of it. And so ChatGPT is incredibly good at finding those keyword variations and understanding that it is semantically relevant, but contextually different, right? So it's going to be serving a different search intent. So someone who is in probate may be more concerned about how they're going to interact with the mortgage company or the bank versus how they're going to sell their house, and so you could have 2 different pieces of content that speak to both search intents, but you'll rank both of them for local keywords about selling a probate house in Fort Worth, right? So don't sleep on using ChatGPT to give you keyword variations, and just use your best judgment on deciding, like, is this keyword something that is worth me writing content over? And is this the right time to be creating that kind of content? Because if you have a good plan about targeting a specific location and you cover all of the various situations within that location, you can see a lot of success.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I appreciate that, man. I think the consensus of this call is don't sleep on ChatGPT. Don't let it blindside you. One thing I want to mention while we have everybody on here is we are running our Cyber Monday sale right now. You've probably already seen that. You've seen the emails, you've seen the ads, but I want to let you know. I get excited about this sale because we truly don't discount Carrot this deeply any other time of the year. So it really is our biggest sale of the year. We're not just taking that from Macy's or Kohl's or whoever. It actually is our biggest sale. So you can get it for over 50, about 80% off. We got 2 different bundles going. So if you're not already a Carrot member and you want to launch a Carrot site, now is the best, highest value, cheapest time to do so. We got a deal going for $59. That alone is less than the cost of getting a Carrot. And we're going to give you the content tools, including the AI content rewrite tool that we're talking about. And going to give you that entire slide deck, our ChatGPT guide that we're continually updating so it stays accurate and fresh. We're going to give that to you, and a little bonus, $50 in deal machine credit. So we're throwing in as many bonuses as we can, making it just like a crazy no-brainer for you to get involved and get your Carrot site up and running. We also got a bigger bundle going. So if you want to get the content tools and the SEO tools, we haven't even dove into some of the things that we have in these packages, like the keyword research tool, the keyword explorer, our new SEO dashboard where you can look at the holistic overview of your website to check out your backlinks, your authority score. We made some big improvements into our SEO suite. We're giving that to you. Our 30-day challenge where we break down getting started with Carrot into bite-sized steps. Our 3 lead per day training where we go really deep into SEO, Google Ads, YouTube, and break it all down for you. And of course, the ChatGPT slide deck for only $246. We're giving away way more than we ever do at any other sale through the year. So anyways, go to carrot.com/cyber. This page might look a little bit different at the time of you seeing this, but the deal is still going. Go to carrot.com/cyber to check it out. But other than that, Bryan, Brent, thank you guys for joining. Everybody watching, thanks for tuning in here. And don't miss the call on Friday. We have one more call this week. So keep this tab open in your browser and keep it on your email. We're going live this Friday as well.
If you're anything like me, those browsers, I literally just have to wake up in the morning and go clear all browsers. Like I have a thing called One Tab that just takes all my tabs and stores them. So much memory on my computer. So if I ever need to go back, I can go and find the tab that I had open on the list of tabs and open them. But it's usually when I wake up in the morning and open it up, it's like, oh yeah, there's 50 tabs open. Let me go ahead and start my day fresh.
You need a GPT plugin for that. ChatGPT, which tabs do I actually need open today? That's good. All right. Well, thank you guys for hopping on. It's been a fun conversation. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you.
Thanks for having us.